Hello and welcome to That's So Craven, your one-stop shop for all things Fulham. And after a week's hiatus, we welcome you back to our Thursday night After Dark show, streaming live on X and YouTube. And tonight, we're going to take a quick look back at last Saturday's game vs Forest because it was so much fun. We know we've already done a pod about it, but we just wanted to talk about it again. So we're going to have a little bit on the Forest game and then swiftly move on to talk about Crystal Palace this Saturday. Another game we're already excited for. So Dave here, and I'm joined by two of your favourite That's So Craven podcasters. And first, we'll go to someone who's becoming quite a regular on the That's So Craven show these days. So that's Mark. So how are you, Mark? And what have you done with Skibby?
Oh man, Skibby's stepped off for the moment, so I'm doing 2 in a row, back-to-back marks. Hopefully people aren't sick of it, and I know my wife is, but I'm going to do myself and hopefully the That's So Craven audience proud, and hopefully sprinkle 1 or 2 nuggets of information that people find entertaining. But always pleased to be on board, and always happy to take a slight little jab at Forest before moving on until Palace.
Yeah, and I understand you've got a friend who's a Palace fan as well, so he's been giving you some, I presume, some abuse ahead of this one.
Oh, 100%. So we're really geared up for this one because whoever wins will make sure that they let the other person know day after day about how they are the better team in London. So we really need to win this one, 100%.
All right, we'll do it for you, Mark. And we're also joined by the Thursday night MVP, known the world over as Fulham legend Mary Southgate, but known in That's So Craven circles as Townsend. So how are you doing, Townsend?
Hello, how's it going? I nearly changed my name on here actually to Townsend today.
And
it is still going strong at football. So you've made a new thing there. Absolutely. I've already had my beer ahead of today's After Dark. I went into, had a couple of beers earlier. So I got on that early, ready ahead of it After Dark. But anyone watching, crack open a can, get yourselves ready. And looking forward to talking, like you said, the Forest game, what a game. And another London derby coming up. So looking forward to chatting about it.
Yeah, it's a great time to be a Fulham fan. So we're all really excited to get into it tonight. I think before we get started, please make sure to send us your comments and your questions and your abuse, and we'll do our best throughout the show to try and address those. So, Mark, as you, Elton, and Sam did such a fantastic job reviewing the game on Sunday, I'm going to go first to Townsend to get her feelings on Saturday's performance. And so I guess, Mary, how do you feel about the game now? And how pleased were you, not just with the result, but I suppose how we played?
Yeah, I think I think we're all in agreement. It's got to be one of our best performances of the season. Just all the players stepped up. I think you look at Adama, I know we've been unsure on how he's impacted the game recently, coming off the bench, but he started and he was so just so strong. Like, I know, did he get player of the match from the Fulham fans, I think. So I think that says quite a lot.
Adama, I think.
I think he got that. So I think he had a cracking game. I mean, that cross for the goal. Although I think that goal, did everybody in the team actually had a touch on the ball for that first goal? I think, except for maybe Sander Berger, maybe. I think that was the only one. And I think, again, that just shows like how comfortable we were on Saturday, just keeping possession, but being productive with it. And I just think, what a game. Our performance, 24 shots or something mad like that. It was the second half. It was like up, down in our seats. Like every time we had the ball, we was attacking. It was exciting. Smith Rowe with the header, delighted for him. I thought he was really positive, actually, when he had the ball at his feet. He was driving forward with it. He was coming in to try and receive a bit more. So I think he had a quite a positive game, actually. Bassey, I mean, buzzing for him. I think he's only scored about 2 goals in his Premier League career. So to get a big I feel like any defender that gets a goal, you've got to be buzzing for them. And Bassey, the celebration as he ran straight over the subs, everyone was right. It was you could just feel it in that, like you could see the celebrations that we are such a team at the moment. And I think so yeah, really happy for Bassey, and just a really enjoyable performance to watch. Just a shame we didn't get more goals. I mean, we could have had 5, 6. Surely.
Could have been. Yeah, it could have been. It was as I say, it was the first time I think in a long time we've put together 2 good halves of football. You know, we were really dominant, I thought, in the first half, and it just felt really unjust at half time to only be, you know, to go in level. Forest, I think, only had real 2 chances in that first half. One was kind of a shot that hit the side netting, and then, you know, a deflected goal to just take the wind out of our sails. I think it'd just been daylight robbery if they'd have got anything from the game after the way we, you know, the way we applied ourselves in that half. And it's, you know, it was kind of just a moment of magic, as you said, you know, from, you know, Adama picking out Smith Rowe at the back post. You know, that's just a sensational ball. You know, that's how you break the low block. You know, you need those kind of quality deliveries to create chances like that. Sells in goal really kept them in it. I mean, Mark, I know you guys touched it on Saturday, but I know you take great delight in Fulham beating Forest. So come on, give us a bit more.
Well, I think
standouts in that half.
I mentioned before, that they've done well, right? So they're fully deserving of their position in the league. Though I think even their own supporters will admit they're kind of used to being able to grind out performances. So they will willingly give up possession, but they're so good with their transitions and they're so direct. And Chris Wood and Sells are absolutely on fire this season. So it feels almost part strategic, but part a little bit of luck, you know, where those players are really performing above and beyond. But yeah, you know, for a long time, whenever I would get really, really excited in the summer transfer window or January, we'd be linked with a player. And I swear, 24 hours later, Forest were linked with them as well. So that kind of got on my back a little bit. So I guess that's one reason I was a little bit irate, and I really, really wanted us to win. But I think we're discussing off air, and I wanted to pose it back to you guys. It's interesting how Forest are sitting at 47 points. They're doing really well. They're 3rd in the Premier League. Yet we have a really good record against them. So do you think somehow Marco's gotten into Nuno's head, or Nuno just, because he did a very strange thing of not playing Elanga or Hudson-Odoi as wingers when we were at theirs. And then once again, when they came to ours, right, they refused to push their wingbacks up, which is a video that Kish from Cottage Tactico did, which really interesting, insightful video. But what do you guys think? Do you think Nuno is just, why did he switch from his strategy when he plays Fulham? Why doesn't he just go with what's worked for 47 points?
It's Mary, difficult one, isn't it? Yeah. I don't know. Is it a way that, is it fearful of us? Is it, you know, it's quite clear how we play. Is it to try and counteract how we're playing, or but then, like you said, Nico Williams, why was he up against Adama? Like, that's not, Adama's had him all day, didn't he? But we've obviously got quite a good record against them. We've done the double there, which not complaining. But I think the thing with Forest, whether they've changed things or not, like Chris Wood is so good at just like that goal he scored, it came from nothing. Like they just like whatever strategy they've gone with, he still managed to create something of. Well, it shouldn't have really been a goal, I don't think, to be honest. But he's done really well there. And like you say, Sells has absolutely kept them in that game. It could have been 5, 6 goals for us. So I'm not entirely sure on your question, but on the answer to your question. But I reckon a bit of fear of us, and I don't know. What would you say?
I mean, I'm quite thankful that Hudson-Odoi only had 2 spells, second half spells against us this season, because, you know, he's been great all season, but he's been rested in both games, which has been fantastic. I just noticed ease of tackles. Sent, you know, they'd gone 5 at the back in the last game when they'd beaten Brighton 7-0. So I guess he's kind of lining up same way again, hoping for a similar result. But no, I think it didn't quite work on Saturday. I thought they really struggled to kind of create anything going forward, particularly in the first half. And I think Marco just kind of, he knew what was coming. And I think what I was really impressed with is just, the little touches that Marco put on the game, which Kish at Cottage Tactico, as you mentioned, put on his video. But, moving Lukic and so wide, right? He was basically playing like a right midfielder. And Smith Rowe and Iwobi were interchanging on that left-hand side. So, yeah, it was really kind of, very clever from Marco, and it gave our kind of wings more support and, helped us create chances and isolate their fullbacks. So, really, really pleased with how we approached the game, and just delighted to see, and actually Adama, I think, you mentioned him there at the start, Mary. He just, his crossing, I think, all season's been pretty good. He's been a bit unlucky not to have more assists. Like, we've missed some good chances from some of the crosses he's put in, but he was electric on Saturday. And, with Wilson injured, he's got his place back in the team, and I think he's really grabbed it with both hands. And I think, I know there's not many people that can come in and take his place, but I think he's got that nailed down, that right-hand side for the foreseeable. What do you reckon?
And defensively, I remember there was one moment where I can't remember where it sort of came from, but Forest were attacking us, and Traore absolutely got back with the pace we know he's got and just stopped that ball. And I remember there, like, the whole hammy end was like absolutely like roared at it, because it was so good from Adama. But sometimes I don't know if we've seen that defensive side from him, but there was so much desire in that moment. I think it must have been in the first half. And I think that is a really positive sight, especially when we're going to need them, like you say, for probably the rest of the season, or in the next month or two. So that was really positive as well. And like you say, I was just glad that Smith Rowe got on the end of his cross. Like, what a perfect cross. He just absolutely put it on a plate for him.
He did indeed. Now, listen, guys, the Berenze family aren't here today, so it's, I've got control of this thing, and so I thought I'd throw in a little bit of a surprise and bring in an extra person to join the group, and I'd really love to hear this guy's thoughts on the Forest game as well. And it's someone I think Fulham social media will know really well. So without further ado, allow me to bring in the host of Cottage Talk himself. It's Mr. Russ Goldman. How you doing, Russ?
I'm doing great, Dave. Great to join you, Mark and Mary. I look forward to chatting even more about this match. I've done 4 post-match shows about this victory, and I'm still not done. That's why I wanted to join you guys. I actually reached out to you. I want to keep talking about this match, and certainly talk about and previewing the upcoming match against Crystal Palace. But this match just continues to amaze me, what I learned from it. I've literally have watched this back because I recorded it, so I watched it, but I probably watched it about 4 times all the way through. And I find something different each time I watch it, a little thing. But I do want to just mention, and I'm glad that you guys already talked about it. I think it was Mark that mentioned Cottage Tactico. He did a wonderful job breaking down how Fulham did this. And a lot had to do with the midfield and moving their central midfielders wide. And that really made a difference. It opened up the space where you have Elliot Anderson having to go wide. You have their most creative player on the other side going wide. And that opens up the space. And then, of course, I was listening to a lot of commentary from Nottingham Forest videos, and they were talking about the influence of Berg and Lukic. I think it's the combination of all of that. But I think this match was won in central midfield.
Yeah, I agree. Berger and Lukic have really kind of established themselves, as our first choice now. And boy, what a job they're doing. They're a pleasure to watch. And I just really hope that Sasa hasn't picked up, a knock that's going to keep him out of Saturday's game. I haven't heard anything yet. Obviously, Marco's team talk is tomorrow, but Mark, actually, how much of a blow do you think that would be if we lost Sasa on Saturday? And who do you think might come in to replace him?
I think it would be horrific. I mean, we are so happy to see Berger and Lukic play together, and they seem to bond really well together. And they give us that defensive solidarity that we've been lacking most of the season. I think Marco, we know Marco, we love Marco, but he's a bit of a stubborn guy. He may try and wedge Pereira in the 8 again, and I think while philosophically it makes sense, it's a great attack when it works, but it works quite rarely. And defensively, it's very, very fragile.
Yeah.
That's what I would bet he would go for.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. What about you, Mary?
Yeah, massive loss if he was to not be there. But he didn't go down the tunnel. I know we noticed that on Saturday. He didn't go back straight off and down the tunnel. So you've got to see that as a positive, that he didn't need immediate treatment. We don't know where he's been at this week. Like you said, tomorrow we'll probably find out a bit more from Silva, but it'd be a massive loss. I think the way Silva moved him over to the right a bit more against Forest was really powerful. It worked really well. 100% pass accuracy as well last game. I think there was about 6 key passes he did, and that's the sort of thing we need. We want to be pushing where we want to be pushing in the league and getting the results we want. We need key players like that to keep the consistency on the pitch. So yeah, fingers crossed. I'm feeling positive that he'll be all right. And I think the same, Pereira would probably be the one that came in, which
Russ, you expecting any more changes for Saturday, or do you think other than Lukic, do you think we're pretty settled side now? What do you reckon?
I think it's going to be exactly the same side. The big question, as you guys are already talking about, it will come down to Lukic. And to Mary's point, everything that I've been hearing, again, is that it doesn't look like it's major, but only we'll find out tomorrow. And that's the thing that's a little scary about this, is that we don't get much information. They keep it pretty tight, which I appreciate on many levels. But as a supporter, it's difficult because we're going to listen to Marco's presser and know how much it's going to affect Fulham, because if Lukic is part of that, I will feel even stronger about this match. If he's not in there, I still think Fulham can beat Crystal Palace. It'll just be different, but I agree with everyone here that it'll be Pereira, and I don't like Pereira in that role at all. I just don't like him in that role, but I know how Marco is. He's going to go with that. So you guys are all right about that. I think with Berger really establishing himself, I think we can survive it. But what has made the difference, and I'll be curious if you guys all agree with this, is the reason why I'm feeling that Europe is a very good possibility is the emergence of these two guys together, of Lukic and Berger. And together, I think they take us to a different level. I really believe that. And I think, especially when we get to playing teams like Liverpool and Arsenal, they're going to give us a better chance to win. So that's why what we learn tomorrow is going to be very interesting, and it could really affect how Fulham play on Saturday and moving forward.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would really suggest any more changes to that for this one, just because of how well we played on Saturday. Taking a leap there, but I think everyone would agree with that. But what I think I really enjoying at the moment about not just the starting 11, but also the bench. I think that the players that we've got on the bench are coming on and making impact. And I'm talking about players like Andreas, who's had a lot of stick this year when he started, but he seems to be performing really well off the bench in the last few games. He's coming on with this new energy for, maybe Smith Rowe when he's starting to fade a little bit, and it's just kind of reigniting the attack. And we've seen him, he almost had another assist on Saturday with that little flick to Willian, which was a great chance really for us to wrap it up at the end there. But and we also know that Muniz can come on and get us a goal, normally away from home against the top teams in the league, but he's a threat nonetheless. So as I say, I think it's, that's a really exciting part as well, that that we've got ability to change the game, and whether that's to get back into a game like it was against Newcastle, or whether that's to try and put the game to bed. I feel really confident now when Marco looks over to the bench. So yeah, I mean, Mark, are you any other points on the starting lineup or on the bench that you'd like to add?
I think that's a great point about AP. And I think the low point of his season was when that interview he did in Brazil, rightly or wrongly, was sort of translated in a way that gave the sense that he perhaps felt he could do better. And ever since then, I think he's really made an effort on and off the pitch to demonstrate that, at least until the end of the season, he wants to do his best, and he's Fulham through and through. I think that's super exciting. Another point to mention, I really like our youth, and I like that Marco is somewhat hesitant, but he is incorporating them, at least on the bench. Josh King, what a talent, already doing really well in the England setup, the youth setup there. And I also like the swagger that Gatto has about him. He's got an eye for goal. He's confident and he's going for it. And I think that's what we saw in our last match against Forest. We were a lot more direct, 24 shots, as Mary said. I want to see more of that instead of this shifting the ball from left to right and looking for the perfect opportunity. Sometimes you just have to, just like Chris Wood did, you have to take a shot, just like Raul did against Newcastle. You take a shot, it might hit someone's elbow, might hit their back and go in. It's still a goal. And I think being more direct, being more aggressive is going to lead hopefully to good things for us.
Yeah. Mayor, just going on this point that Black, White and Fred's made in the comments about AP looking better because he's coming on in the 10 position and not the 8. Do you see him firmly as a 10? And because the reason I'm bringing it up again is because there is a chance that he might have to fill in the 8 on Saturday. So I just wanted to get your view on that.
Yeah, I think, like you say, I think if Lukic isn't playing, he will be the 8. But I absolutely agree. He is best in the 10. I also think when he's been coming on recently with Muniz, or like one's just come on before the other, they link up really well. And that positioning of Muniz in the 9 and AP in the 10, it just allows them to actually link up really well. So I think that's quite helpful for the two of them and helps that energy. Because I think Pereira has been showing better energy, better drive as a sub at the moment. I think that could be a contributing factor, just because you're like coming on with people that you're very comfortable linking up with. It does make a little bit of a difference. So yeah, but his strongest position is the 10. He does some really good balls. Like, he's got a good vision for passes, and I just think sometimes in the 8 he makes silly decisions with the passes sometimes, or he tries to do some that are a bit too big or just too extra that aren't quite needed. Whereas in the 10, you can play some quite nice passes that are a bit more, do you see what I mean, suited to that position, which is completely what he is best at. So I do like seeing him in the 10, and I hope that that's where he can play on Saturday. I can see him coming on because I don't think Smith Rowe, who I think will start, I don't think he will do 90 minutes. So I'd like to think that Pereira will come in on the 10.
Yeah. No, I'd agree with that. So anyway, let's get into Palace. It's interesting. I heard in the week that we actually haven't beaten Palace at home in 20 years, which sounds terrible, but I will kind of point out that's only because we haven't played them very often at home. We've kind of overlapped a little bit in divisions, but it still feels like far too long for me. I remember, when we first came up out of the championship the first time before the yo-yo started. I think they were our first home game, and that was the 2-0, and they beat us 2-0, and Zaha scored. It kind of really took the wind out of our sails that day. But yeah, they've been formidable. They've been tough to beat. Last year, we played them at the end of the season, and it was a little bit of I wouldn't say a dead rubber, I guess. It was 2 mid-table teams by that point that weren't kind of challenging for Europe or, necessarily going down. Palace at the time were on an amazing run. I don't know if you remember. They finished the season so strongly under Glasner last year. And actually thought it was a game we should have won. We had lots of chances. Muniz got us in front, and then if not for a thunderbolt from Jeffrey Schlupp, I think we should have taken all 3 points. I think it's a different test on Saturday, and Forest are a lot higher than Palace in the league, but I don't think it's going to be any, an easier game by any means, and I don't think we can drop our level. Russ, what do you make of Palace this year, and how do you look at this game?
Well, I'm glad that you've already said this, Dave. I think that they're underperforming where they should be. They should be in the top 10. And I really rate the manager. I rate the players. I think that they've done a good job of basically what happened to them over the summer with the loss of Elise, I think was massive. Also losing Anderson, they've been able to replace a couple players and be able to just basically play in the way that Glasner wants them to play. They set up differently than, say, what we faced against Nottingham Forest. Again, you're going to be facing the 3 center backs, but their wing backs are probably going to be going forward where that was not the case against Nottingham Forest. So they offer a different challenge. And the first time around, we did not see Eze. We did not see Warden. They will probably start in this match. So that gives them a different dynamic. However, I think we're different from that match too. And I actually before I came on here, I was watching back the highlights from that match because I spoke to D from Back of the Nest, and he was telling me, well, you really can't learn much from the first time that the teams played. And I got to be honest with you, I disagree. I think you can learn something from that because of the style of play that they play with. I don't think they're going to be changing how they play. Marco's going to know how to beat this team. And I think he will put the players, just like in the last match, in the best position to succeed. They will have the game plan. And I think if they execute the way that I think they're going to, I think we have a very good chance of getting all 3 points. It's not going to be easy, but I think it's going to be a little bit different. But I also see us creating a lot of chances, more than we did against Nottingham Forest. And I can just attest to that. From the first time we played them, we created a ton of opportunities. I don't think, even with the additions of the players I mentioned, that's going to change. And just remember, Lukic did not play the last time these teams played. So if he's included, we're different. So just keep that in mind as well. But I think it's going to be a challenge, but I don't see any reason why they can't win this game.
Yeah, okay, and I'm glad you're confident. I'm kind of thinking, I've had a little look at Palace's away form recently. As brought up on the slide. I mean, they are fantastic away from home. They really are. And the other thing is they don't tend to concede many either away from home. So it does present new challenges. Mark, I know you've got a friend who's a Palace fan. How's he feeling about how they're playing at the moment? And I guess, how's he feeling about the game on Saturday? Is he kind of nervous about coming here, or does he think it's an opportunity for them to, continue that run?
Yeah, great point. I mean, to echo what Russ has already said, they are kind of in a false position on the table, and he firmly believes that as well. And if you look at the players they have, they've also, kind of like Bournemouth, they've recruited really, really well, especially from the Championship. Names like Eze, Elise from Reading. I think Eze was also Reading, Wharton, and now Romain Esse. They're doing really good. And they have a team of warriors as well, right? I think last time when I was watching them in person, Munoz put in a shift. Will Hughes will put in a shift. So they won't roll over. I do think we have enough, but I think similar to what you're saying, Dave, they're going to present a different challenge. I don't know if I have Ross's confidence. I think we should beat them, but they will attack us more. I feel they won't be so strategic about how they attack. They'll just go for it, and I think that actually makes a very exciting game for us.
I think if we play like we did last week, we could win this game. But I just don't think the levels can drop, and I also think we've got a different challenge on Saturday. And I'm surprised we haven't mentioned him yet, but Mateta. Yeah. I mean, he's a huge threat. Yeah. I mean, Mary. Formidable.
I was going to mention him.
Yeah, go on, please. Tell
I think he is going to be a danger. Which I believe in Anderson and Bassi. Bassi, I think, was outstanding against Forest, by the way. every time he had that ball, he was driving forwards because he obviously had the space for it. But yeah, they're going to have to manage him. I had a brief look, and since the start of 2025, they've scored 9 goals and he's scored 7 of them. So he's an absolute machine at the moment with the goals that he's scoring. I think he's scored 11 all season, so he's in a real phase at the moment, by the looks of it, of scoring. So we need to absolutely stop that threat. I think he'll be a big threat for them. So, and just wanted to touch on what you said. They're not conceding many away from home. They're stronger away from home at the moment, and I don't know why that is, but it's something we need to be aware of. They've only lost 3 away games. We, on the other hand, have only lost 3 home games. So it's a bit of an interesting stat, that one, which I don't want to look into too much. But yeah, I think Mateta's going to be a key threat for them up top. But we know Bassey's strong. I can't see the back line changing at all for Saturday. So they just need to stand him up, be on him. We can't be conceding goals like we did before when Anderson didn't press or was, I can't remember which game it was now, but there's a couple where he hasn't quite marked them tight enough. And I think this is a game where we really need to be on Mateta, especially whilst he's scoring so many at the moment. So, but equally, like you said, we need to absolutely keep the levels and raise them from Forest game, because if they're not conceding many away from home, they're going to have a very strong defensive block and very strong out of possession. And we need to make sure, like you say, we're keeping the levels we had, and we're driving at them, and we're playing with speed, and we're not just passing right to left, and we've got purpose to what we're doing. But I do believe we will win this game, but I think it will be a close game, and probably and closer than Forest game.
Yeah, another tough one. Russ, I think we all think Palace will provide a different attacking threat to Forest, which was pretty non-existent in the first half on Saturday. Does that give us more opportunities in behind? How do we win this game against this Palace defense?
Well, I'm glad that Mary mentioned, and I should have mentioned myself, Mateta is a huge threat. So that, to me, actually could open up opportunities for us on the counter, because honestly, we didn't get a chance to counter because Nottingham Forest didn't really create much at all. So I think we'll actually get some opportunities to counter. And just go back and watch the last match between these two sides, and Fulham were countering a lot. Now, again, it was at Selhurst Park. But I think that the way that they play, the way that they want to go quick on the counter, could open up our chances as well. I think Fulham are going to create more than you think in this match, based on what I've watched from the last time these teams played. I think that there's going to be more opportunities. However, I think they're going to be stingier to break down. I'm glad that Mary brought this up. You guys already talked about it. To break them down is going to be difficult. They cannot approach this, as you guys were saying, the levels have to be high. They cannot be like the Manchester United match, where they're very patient. They're going to have to basically drive forward and create these opportunities. And a player I'm looking at, and can he do it again? For me, I think a key to this match is going to be Traore. Can Traore do what he did in the last match? Because I've not seen that level from him in a Fulham shirt like that. Can he consistently do that? Because if he can do that, then Fulham have just gone up a level. Because what shocked me was his accuracy on the crossing. I could just tell that he's been working on it. Similar to when I saw that from Jedi. Jedi's crossing, I've been very critical over the years, but he has worked on it. But you can also tell that recently, same thing from Traore, because he's such a threat going forward. If he adds that other part to his game, look out. And we saw that against Nottingham Forest. I expect to see that and him play a huge role against Crystal Palace.
Yeah. It's a good shout. Mark, where do you see it? How do you think Fulham can break down Palace, and where's the opportunity for us?
Yeah, if they've kept with the same strategy, as I recall, Munoz really liked going up quite far up the pitch, doing an overlap, kind of like Robbo does, right?
Yeah.
And then creating that triangle on the side. But I think that opens up space, right? And that gives us the opportunity for one of those beautiful diagonals from Anderson to find Iwobi or to find whoever's occupying that space. And I think it will be a game of counters. So that's one way I can imagine that we could win the game. I think they will have Henderson in goal, and I quite rate him as a goalkeeper. I don't think he's going to spill as much as some of the other opposition keepers we've had, but yeah, I think we still need to mix it up. We need to have late runners in the box, maybe take a couple of shots from outside the box and not be so predictable. But yeah, back to Russ's point, if Traore brings the same level, that's a huge weapon. And we seem to be quite lucky as a club that every time, someone's injured or someone isn't quite playing at the level that we expect, so Iwobi drops off a little bit, suddenly Traore steps up. And the responsibility sort of shifts a little bit. And if we can just get the entire team firing at once, then yeah, I mean, Europe, why not?
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. Do you know what? You mentioned Anderson, Mark, and boy, this is a game I'd really like him to perform well in. After all of the stick that the Palace fans have given him on social media.
And they continue to, by the way.
Yeah, and I think it's just they're trying to make the best out of a bad situation. And don't get me wrong, I think the guy they brought in, and I can't quite remember his name. Lacroix.
Yeah,
I think they're quite happy with him, and he's done quite well. So it sounds like they've replaced him quite well, but I think they were gutted when Anderson left, and just wanted to kind of. Kind of point out his flaws to try and make themselves feel a bit better. So this is one I'd like him to really perform in. And I think we started to see, he obviously had like a difficult few games after returning from injury. But the last couple, I think there's been signs of improvement. I think his defensive work has been quite strong over the last couple of games. And his passing was better again on Saturday. So he is kind of on the verge of being back, and it could come at no better time. We don't have a big rivalry with Palace, but that's kind of created a little bit of an edge to it. That and the whole them pretending they're the oldest club in London.
And honestly, get out.
It's quite embarrassing, really, that they want to focus on that. But those two little bits create a bit of edge and make this game kind of one that I'm sure we'd all love to get one over on them and do the double. That'd be the third double.
Another double. Not a bad way to go, and it is a London derby, isn't it? So. Other than our howler against West Ham, we've been really strong at them. So hopefully we continue that as well.
Oh yeah, but no, for sure. It's look, I think we've got to look here as another opportunity. We're at home. We're above them in the league. That doesn't necessarily bode well for Fulham. We tend to get a lot of our wins against teams that are above us. But it's an opportunity nonetheless. And if we can, I'd just like us to maintain this form now and try and carry it on. Be a bit of a blow really if we drop points in this one. And I think if we really are serious about a charge for Europe, these are what games that you need to win. Because actually, I
was going to say, like the run of games that we've got coming up after this, we've got a really tough game. Like Wolves away, I think will be a tough. Oh, actually. You've just put it on the slide.
Mary, I was prepared today. I was prepared. So here's the run again.
But I do think Wolves away is going to be a really tough game. Man United, obviously, that's the FA Cup. That's a whole nother story with the tickets. But I mean, that is a tough run. And then after that, we've got Arsenal in the mix there. We've got Liverpool in the mix coming up, Chelsea. So obviously, that. Easy game, Chelsea, because we beat them 2-1. Just remind everyone of that. But we need to go game by game because I think every game is going to be tough, as you can see.
And I think they all start looking a bit tougher if you don't win the games you should win. We should win on Saturday, and if we don't, all those games ahead then start looking. They look at Wolves away, potential banana skin. They're another team. Russ potentially that have underperformed a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, go on.
No, I was going to say the next two matches, it's funny because we've already talked a lot about this on my show.
Yeah.
They can define if Fulham really are serious about Europe. You win these two matches and you are definitely strongly in the mix, and it's going to be difficult to maybe get you out of it. Mary has mentioned the matches later on, but I think if you win these 2 matches, it can really springboard you and also give the team even more confidence heading in. But I'm not just penciling in these 2 victories. They're going to be difficult because, like I said, Crystal Palace underperforming, Wolves underperforming. They're a very good side. I watched them play Liverpool, and I'm telling you, I know how difficult it's going to be. Plus, it's a Tuesday night after they play Crystal Palace on a Saturday. That's going to be hard. But I'm just telling you, the way that they played against Newcastle United and then, of course, the last match against Nottingham Forest gives me hope that they can push forward. This will define who they want to be. Do they want to be just a mid-table side, or do they truly want to be a team that's going to be in Europe next season? And I think we're going to find out a lot.
Yeah. Mark, with obviously the game against Wolves following Tuesday, that's quite a quick turnaround. And without getting too much into the Wolves preview, which we'll do next Thursday, next Sunday. I just wanted to kind of get your feeling on, do you think we'll use the squad a little bit in the next 2 games? Or do you think Marco will just work the team hard and try and keep this momentum?
I think we know he's pretty stubborn as a manager. Failing injuries, I don't think he'll change anyone unless someone has a howler as well, or he's forced to change someone. I do hope that he would use his substitutions quicker. That would be better, because how many times have we been screaming, we've seen some tired legs, and he waits until the 78th minute or the 80th minute. And, at that point, perhaps the opposition has already scored. It's a little bit too little too late. Wolves, I wouldn't say I fear them, but Cunha is going to a top club next season. What that guy can do when he turns it on.
100%.
So we won't get into it too much because of the preview. But just jumping all over the place, Brighton is the one that I kind of fear, because I always feel like we get kind of lucky against those guys. It's the one team where I'm usually saying the ref has an agenda against us. But when we play Brighton, we get a lot of the calls, and it's quite nice to be on the other side. But Brighton at the Amex, and they've never beaten us. So that's one to look out for. It's a tasty one early March.
Yeah. Plenty of tough games.
I do think it's exciting, though. Like you said, Anderson's coming back to his top form. Traore, I think, has just hit like a really strong level. Smith Rowe, he's nearly back at his form. Like, I think this is a really powerful moment for us. So a bit like Russ said, the next 2 games are like vital to be getting 4 out of 6 points, really. Ideally 6, but we've got to make a bit of a statement here. And I do think, like I just said, with those players coming back into their top form, it's just going to keep strengthening our team. So I'm feeling quite positive about it, but I'm also quite it's quite clear that it's going to be tough games. So I'm not saying they're going to be easy, but I do think there'll be big statements if we can get 2 wins or 4. I mean, 4 out of 6, I think, would be also quite a positive way to look at it.
Yeah, I've tried not to get too carried away with the talk about Europe, but I think if we win the next 2, we're banging it. We're right in the mix. I mean, you could argue we're in the mix at the moment. We are in 8th place after all, but I think with another 6 points on the board, we're looking at not even just Conference League. We're in the running for Europa League at that stage. So, yeah, I think it could be a bit of like the next 2 can maybe show us, where Fulham are kind of going to end up. Is it a bit of a fork in the road, this little period here, that kind of one way leads to Europe, one way leads to kind of mid-table, so that's going to be really interesting. And yeah, I think it's the way.
But equally, I think we can't get too carried away, because like our little phase back in when we were goalless with Southampton, and the points that we were dropping that we thought we'd win, and then we went on and that brilliant December run, and it's like the games we didn't expect to be winning, we're winning. And then, so like, I suppose we can't look too deeply into it and expect certain results, because football's a bit of a funny one, isn't it? Anything can happen, which we've already proved this season.
we've proved, but we've also seen the flip side of that when Wolves came to the Craven Cottage. You know, so it's games can change in moments, but you just got to be confident that after Saturday's performance, that the guys are going to be kind of buzzing and up for this one, and hopefully the crowd are too. Thought it was a louder Craven Cottage on Saturday than it had been in a while, and I think part of that was because we kind of what we were seeing was really great, and really got everyone going. But I just felt everyone was a little bit more positive and up for it, which gives us a really good chance of, if we can keep that kind of get the crowd behind us, I think that makes a big difference, as Marco says all the time. So yeah,
it's good when Willian got a good reception as well.
He did, yeah,
which was nice. I think it's nice for him as well, isn't it? He was quite clearly appreciated being there. So close to getting a goal on his first touch. If he'd, looking at that chance when he backheeled it, right decision from him. But then obviously, I know we've chatted about it in the WhatsApp. If only we squared it to Cess.
Yeah.
But yeah, great impact from Willian straight away. So I was really pleased that he got a good reception there.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll see him on the pitch? Do you think we'll see him subbed on?
Yes, I think that after I'll take this one. I think that yes, I think we will. After what we saw on Saturday, I think that there's every chance that he will get an opportunity again. Russ, were you impressed?
Yes, I was impressed. I want to talk a little bit. I'm glad that we're talking about William, but I want to talk about Ryan Sessegnon, because I think Ryan Sessegnon is just about ready to make some kind of impact. And I actually saw this against Wigan. I've seen it in spurts here. I want to see more of Ryan Sessegnon. Similar to, I want to see, as Mark said, I want to see more of Josh King. And I wouldn't be against playing Josh King as a winger. He played it in that Wigan match, and I thought, okay, he can do that too. He can play central, but he can also play wide. So I think we have some good depth, and we think we need to start using. We need to use everyone, because as Mary said, listen, we've got tough matches coming up, and I expect Marco to play his favorite starting 11 and not really rotate, but I want him to use other players. And I'm giving you names of players. Like I said, I expect William to continue to have an impact. His mind is his most valuable part of his game, his leadership, and he could still do it. He could still, he still has the skill level. So there's a lot to like about the players on the bench. And I'm excited to see how Marco's going to implement all these players. I think he needs to use his bench.
For sure. So I'm going to push you all for a little prediction now ahead of Saturday. So let's start with you, Mark. And you mentioned you weren't as confident as Russ that we'd pick up a win. Are you predicting us to not pick up 3 points?
No. This is a proud Fulham podcast. I've got to go with a win. But it's going to be a 2-1 from me. Fulham win. Mateta is inevitable, so there's going to be some sort of mix-up, just like with Wood. It's going to be a good Eze ball or a sort of fumbled corner, and then he'll bundle it in. But I think we have enough in us, but it's going to be more nervy. It won't be a comfortable 2-1, which should have been a 4-0. It's going to be a proper 2-1 that we kind of, you know how it is as a Fulham fan in the last 10 minutes when we're getting hammered. It will be one of those, in my opinion. We'll see.
Yeah. Mary?
Yeah, same, actually. I'm going 2-1. And just like Mark said, I think it will be a proper 2-1, not like the Forest one where we should have absolutely stormed far ahead in front. I'd really like us to keep Mateta at bay. I'd really like to see us not concede a goal to him. I think that would also be a big statement about us defensively, since he's scoring so much at the moment. So I'd really like us to keep him out if we can. But I think same starting 11 for us. Fingers crossed Lukic is all right.
Yeah. Russ, go on. Give us your prediction. What's the score on Saturday?
So I just have to mention that I actually did a show with D from Back of the Nest, and his prediction was 2-0 to Crystal Palace on my show. So when he said that, I got a little bit irritated, and I thought, okay, I'm going to give my prediction. I told D, well, if you're going to do that, then I'm going to go 2-0 to Fulham. But I actually have a reason for going 2-0 to Fulham. One is, I think we're all talking about this. Fulham need a clean sheet. I think it's important to get a clean sheet and really shut down Mateta. Very difficult to do. But I think that Innocent's going to be up for the task with everything going on with him playing for Crystal Palace, and he played well the last time. So I am going to go with a 2-0 Fulham victory, and I'm going to say it's a brace for Adama Traore.
Brace for Adama. Wow. Wow, that's out there.
Spicy take.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's see. We've lost Mary shortly, but I'm sure she'll log back in. Right. For me, I think there's going to be goals. I think it'll be hard to keep Palace out. Eze, Mateta, they've got goal scorers in their team. As do we. I'm going to go for a 3-2 Fulham win.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm going to go for goals on Saturday. So, yeah, let's see. We've all gone a Fulham win. So, I think the last time we were unanimous on that was the Man United home game. So,
that didn't end well.
So hoping for better this time. Oh no, hang on a second, Mark. That do you guys an injustice. I think you guys all went for a win against Forest, didn't you? In the Forest preview. So yeah, you guys were right that time, and let's hope that we're right again, because that would be a fantastic way to sign off 3 games in a row.
Mary.
There she is. She's back. There we go. So, okay. So, we're all very confident. So that's great. So what I'd say is, I just want to kind of thank everyone for joining us today. I think all of our links.
Sorry about that. In the internet.
Oh, yeah. Don't worry. You've logged in on your phone now, haven't you? Oh, connection's not great. Okay. Well, Mary's here. Don't worry. She is.
Mary's here.
Right. Yeah. Please check out all our socials in the link to this podcast, and also a link to our Discord. Russ, are you signed up in our Discord yet?
I am.
Good man. So yeah, you want to hear Russ's views on the game? You want to hear Russ's views ahead of games? Get on our Discord, all right? And as you say, there's been some good stuff on there today. There's been lots of striker rumors today starting to come out. So I noticed a few things.
Tammy Abraham.
Yeah, Tammy Abraham came up. Yuri Alberto, a Brazilian striker, and also Dominic Calvert-Lewin was mentioned in our Discord today. There's a few names come out all on the same day, so that's quite interesting. Maybe the club are targeting a striker in the summer, so that could potentially be quite exciting too. So, as always, the Berenze family will be back to review the Palace game and review the Palace win on Sunday. And Russ, what a big surprise for our listeners today. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure to have you.
Well, listen, thank you so much for letting me join you. And I just reached out to you, so I want to thank you for your time, for having me on. I was sitting watching all these videos about Fulham and Crystal Palace. I'm like, you know what? You guys are going live. Can I join you? So was itching to talk more Fulham. I got it. I'm obsessed. So thank you for having me on.
No worries at all. And Mark, thanks for joining us again.
Always happy to be here, Dave. And also super happy to share this space with Russ, because big fan of Cottage Talk. Oh, and you know what I love about you, Russ?
What?
I love the ambition. I feel we need more of that. Why not Europe? There's a large segment of the fan base which is like, oh, let's be grateful we're in the Prem. It's like, okay, it's season 3. Let's start looking up. So
I could do a show about this on here, but I won't do it because I've already done it on Cottage Talk. But I will just say I am very ambitious. I want Fulham to be playing in Europe and be able to do this each and every season. And that, to me, I just don't want us to be mid-table. I think that this is a club that should be progressing, because if you are mid-table, you're standing still, and eventually you're going to get relegated. I want us to be so comfortable that we're thinking about Europe each and every season. And yes, I'm an optimist, and maybe I'm a blind optimist, but that's what I want. And I want others to love Fulham. Everyone loves Fulham, but I want them to believe that we can do better. That's all.
Yeah, I hear that. Mary, thanks for joining us. No, signal's still bad. But listen, Mary's here in spirit. Okay, she's here in spirit, and I'm sure she'll be, in the Hammersmith end on Saturday, cheering the boys on. It doesn't sound like we're going to get her famous "Come on, you whites" at the end of the pod, but she'll be giving it big in the Hammersmith end, no doubt. So, thanks to everyone for joining us today, and as always, come on, you whites.
You whites.